I didn't turn on the lights. My truck's headlights cut through the rain as I pulled into the driveway at 4:47 inches the morning. The hurricane that was supposed to hit Tampa had turned north at the last minute, and after 12 hours on the road evacuating Dad to my sister's place in Georgia, I'd driven straight back. The house should have been dark, empty, locked up tight like I'd left it. But there were lights on upstairs. In Dad's bedroom, I killed the engine and sat there for a moment, listening to the rain drum against the windshield. My father had Alzheimer's, early stage, but progressing. 6 months ago, I'd retired early from my engineering job, specifically to take care of him. He was a Korean War veteran, 86 years old, and he'd raised me and my sister alone after Mom died when I was 7. There was no way I was putting him in a home, which is why I'd hired my nephew Marcus to help. Marcus was my sister Linda's son, 35, a real estate agent who'd fallen on hard times during the market crash. When he'd offered to move in and help with Dad in exchange for room and board plus a small salary, it seemed like a blessing. Dad knew him, trusted him, and Marcus had always been good with his grandfather. I'd left 3 days ago, Tuesday morning, when the hurricane warnings went red. The plan was simple. Get Dad to Linda's house in Savannah, wait out the storm, come back when it was safe. I'd left Marcus in charge of securing the house, boarding up windows, the usual prep work. The hurricane had weakened, turned away. The evacuation order was lifted at midnight. I'd called Marcus at 1 a.m. to let him know I was heading back. The call went straight to voicemail. Now I was staring at lights in my father's bedroom at 5 in the morning, and something cold was settling in my gut. I grabbed my phone and turned on the voice recorder before I got out of the truck. Old engineer habit. Document everything. The rain had slowed to a drizzle. I walked up to the front door, unlocked. Inside, the house was trashed. Not hurricane damage, party damage. Red plastic cups everywhere. Empty beer bottles lined the kitchen counter. The smell of marijuana hung in the air. Someone had spilled something dark and sticky on the hardwood floor I'd refinished last spring. My father's favorite chair, the recliner he'd sat in every evening for the past 30 years, had a burn mark on the armrest. "Dad?" I called out. My voice echoed in the silence. Nothing. I climbed the stairs, my heart hammering. The master bedroom door was closed. I turned the handle. Locked. From the outside, there was a deadbolt installed on the exterior of the door. A deadbolt that hadn't been there 3 days ago. "Dad! Harold! You in there?" I pounded on the door. I heard movement. A weak voice. "Robert? That you, son?" I didn't have the key. I put my shoulder into the door. The frame splintered on the second hit. The door swung open. The smell hit me first. Urine, feces, sweat, sickness. My father was lying in his bed in the same clothes I'd left him in 3 days ago. The sheets were soaked. There was no water glass on the nightstand. The bathroom door was closed. The small trash can beside the bed was overflowing. Jesus Christ! I rushed to his side. "Dad, when's the last time you had water?" He looked at me with those cloudy eyes, confused. Marcus said you weren't coming back. Said the hurricane got you. My hands were shaking as I checked his pulse. Rapid. His skin was hot and dry. Severe dehydration. I grabbed my phone, dialed 911. 911. "What's your emergency?" "This is Robert Chen, 4247 Oakmont Drive, Tampa. I need an ambulance. My father, 86 years old, Alzheimer's patient, severe dehydration, appears to have been locked in his room without water for at least 48 hours. While I waited for the ambulance, I got Dad small sips of water. Not too much. Too much, too fast, could be dangerous. I'd learned that in my first aid training. His lips were cracked and bleeding. When I helped him sit up, I saw the bed sores starting to form on his back. 3 days. I'd been gone 3 days. The bathroom door was locked too. I kicked it open. Empty. The toilet had been flushed, but recently used. Someone else had been using this bathroom, while my father lay in his own waste. I took photos of everything. The locked door, the deadbolt, the condition of the room, my father's condition. I filmed video, old engineer habit, document everything. The paramedics arrived within 8 minutes. 2 young guys, professional, quick. They assessed Dad. Started an IV right there in the bedroom. How long has he been like this? The older one asked me. I don't know. I left Tuesday morning for hurricane evacuation. Got back an hour ago and found him locked in here. Locked in? I showed them the deadbolt. Showed them the broken door frame. The lead paramedic's face went hard. We're taking him to Tampa General. You should call the police. I will. They loaded Dad onto the stretcher. As they carried him down the stairs, I heard a car door slam outside. I looked out the window. Marcus's black Audi was pulling into the driveway. He got out, along with a woman I recognized as his fiancée, Deanna. She was a paralegal at some downtown firm. They both stopped dead when they saw the ambulance. Marcus walked up to me as I stood on the porch. He was wearing expensive clothes I'd never seen before. Designer jeans, some brand-name shirt. His fiancée was dripping in jewelry. Uncle Rob? What's going on? I thought you were in Savannah? Hurricane turned. Called you at 1 a.m. You didn't answer. Oh man, my phone died. I'm so sorry. Is Grandpa okay? I looked at him, really looked at him. There wasn't a trace of concern in his eyes, just calculation, working out angles. When's the last time you gave my father water, Marcus? What? I've been taking care of him. He was locked in his bedroom, from the outside, with a deadbolt that wasn't there 3 days ago. He's been lying in his own waste. He told me you said I wasn't coming back, that the hurricane got me. Diana touched Marcus's arm. Babe, maybe we should. Shut up, he said to her. Then to me, Uncle Rob, I can explain. Grandpa gets confused. He wanders at night. The doctor said it's part of the Alzheimer's. I installed the lock for his own safety. The doctor? Which doctor? Because Dr. Patterson never mentioned anything about locking him in his room. And even if that were true, you still have to give him water, food, change his clothes, clean him. I did. I swear I did. He must have. There were parties here. Multiple parties, from the look of it. You told me you'd secure the house and stay here to watch over everything. The paramedics were loading Dad into the ambulance. One of them looked at me, nodded toward Marcus. I shook my head slightly. Not now. Marcus ran his hand through his hair. Okay, look. Yeah, I had a couple friends over. It's been stressful, taking care of Grandpa alone. I needed to blow off some steam, but I made sure he was safe. I locked his door so he wouldn't fall down the stairs or something during the party. For 3 days? No, just Tuesday night. I swear. The ambulance pulled away, lights flashing. I watched it go. My father. My dad. The man who'd worked 2 jobs to put me through college. Who'd never missed one of my basketball games in high school. Who'd taught me how to fix cars and balance checkbooks and treat people with respect. I turned back to Marcus. Get out. What? Get your things and get out of my house. Now. Diana stepped forward. You can't just kick him out. Marcus has tenant rights. We've been living here for 6 months. You need to give 30 days notice. Follow eviction procedures. So the paralegal knowledge was already coming out. Interesting. Fine, I said. Consider this your 30-day notice. But right now, I need to go be with my father at the hospital. When I get back, we're going to have a long conversation about what happened here. I drove to Tampa General. Dad was admitted immediately. Severe dehydration, possible kidney damage, UTI, stage 2 bed sores. The ER doctor asked me pointed questions about his care situation. I told her everything. She made notes, said she was required to file an elder abuse report. I called my sister Linda from the hospital waiting room, told her what I'd found. There was a long silence on the other end. Robert, are you sure? Marcus wouldn't. I'm sure, Linda. I found Dad locked in his room, lying in his own waste. No water, no food. The house was full of evidence of parties. Your son told Dad I was dead. He's under a lot of stress. The real estate market, his debts, that doesn't excuse elder abuse. Don't call it that. He's family. So is Dad. And he's the victim here. She hung up on me. I sat there in that plastic waiting room chair, listening to the fluorescent lights hum, and started to put pieces together. Marcus had access to everything. Dad's checkbook, his bank accounts, I'd added Marcus as an authorized user on Dad's checking account 6 months ago so he could buy groceries and pay bills when I was out. I'd trusted him. I pulled out my laptop and logged into Dad's bank account. Thank God I still had full access as power of attorney. The most recent transactions made my blood run cold. Withdrawal, $15,000. Tuesday, the day I left. Withdrawal, $8,000. Wednesday. Withdrawal, $12,000. Thursday, this morning, $35,000 in 3 days. I scrolled back further. Over the past 6 months, there were regular withdrawals I didn't recognize. $2,000 here, $5,000 there. Some listed as cash withdrawals, others as checks written to various places. A roofing company I'd never heard of, a medical equipment supplier that didn't match any equipment I'd seen in the house. I added it up, over $140,000 in 6 months. My father's savings, his retirement, his VA benefits, his Social Security, all of it going into Marcus's pockets. I took screenshots of everything, downloaded 6 months of bank statements to my laptop, documented every suspicious transaction. Then I called the bank, explained the situation. They put a hold on the account immediately and scheduled an appointment for me to come in Friday morning with my power of attorney paperwork. Next, I called Dr. Patterson, Dad's primary care physician, got his answering service, left a detailed message about Dad's condition, and asked for copies of all medical records from the past 6 months. Then I called a lawyer, not just any lawyer, my college roommate, Tom Bradley, who'd gone on to specialize in elder law. I'd been a groomsman at his wedding. Rob, it's 5 a.m. I need your help. Elder abuse case. It's my father, my nephew. I heard him sit up in bed. Tell me everything. I did. When I finished, Tom was quiet for a moment. Okay, here's what we do. First, you file a police report today. Complete, detailed, everything you found. Second, you document his medical condition thoroughly. Get doctor's statements. Third, you secure all financial records. Fourth, we file for an emergency restraining order against Marcus, keeping him away from your father and away from any of your father's assets. Fifth, we press charges. Criminal charges. This isn't just elder abuse, Rob. This is felony theft, fraud, false imprisonment, possibly even attempted negligent homicide, depending on how bad the dehydration was. He's my sister's son, and your father is your father. Your priority is protecting him, not protecting the person who almost killed him. He was right. I knew he was right. Dad was in the ICU for 3 days. The dehydration had caused acute kidney injury. The doctors weren't sure if the damage was permanent. They found evidence of malnutrition, too. He'd lost 18 pounds in 6 months. I hadn't noticed because I'd been seeing him every day. The weight loss had been gradual. While Dad was in the hospital, I went to work. I filed the police report. A detective named Sarah Morrison was assigned to the case. She was in her 40s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. She came to the hospital, photographed Dad's condition, took detailed statements, reviewed all my documentation. This is one of the more clear-cut cases I've seen, she said. Usually with elder abuse, we're dealing with ambiguity, she said. But you've got evidence. Locked door, physical condition, financial records, medical documentation. This is prosecutable. What happens next? We investigate. Interview Marcus. Interview anyone who was at those parties. Subpoena financial records. Build the case. But I'll be honest with you, Mr. Chen. Even with evidence this strong, family cases are complicated. Your sister is already defending him. Other family members might too. Are you prepared for that? My father comes first. Dr. Patterson called me back that afternoon. He sounded angry. Robert, I just reviewed Harold's recent chart notes. There are entries here I never made. What do you mean? Someone has been accessing Harold's electronic medical records and adding false information. Notes about increased aggression requiring sedation. Recommendations for psychiatric medications I never prescribed. Documentation of behaviors I never observed. This is fraud, Robert, medical fraud. Can you tell who did it? The entries are attributed to my practice, but I didn't make them. I'm going to have to report this to the medical board and possibly law enforcement. Someone with access to our system has been falsifying records. Marcus's fiancée, Diana. She worked at a law firm, but she'd mentioned once that she used to work for a medical billing company. She'd have known how to access electronic health records systems. I called Detective Morrison back, told her about the falsified medical records. She added it to the investigation. Tom filed the emergency restraining order. A judge granted it the same day. Marcus was now legally prohibited from coming within 500 feet of my father or contacting him in any way. He was also frozen out of all of Dad's financial accounts. Marcus violated the restraining order within 24 hours. He showed up at the hospital, tried to see Dad. Hospital security called the police. He was arrested, spent the night in jail, released on bond. My sister called me, screaming, "You had my son arrested. How could you do this to family?" Linda, he almost killed Dad. He stole $140,000. He falsified medical records. You're exaggerating. Marcus made some mistakes, but you're destroying his life. What about Dad's life? Or does that not matter to you? Of course it matters, but Marcus is my son. He's young. He made bad choices. Can't we handle this privately? Does it have to involve the police? Yes, it does. Because what he did was criminal. And because if I don't hold him accountable, he'll do it to someone else. She hung up on me again. Over the next 3 weeks, the full scope of the fraud emerged. The roofing company Marcus had paid $12,000 to, it didn't exist. He'd created a fake business, opened a bank account in that name, and transferred Dad's money to himself. The medical equipment supplier, same thing, fake company, Marcus pocketing the money. He'd also forged Dad's signature on documents attempting to transfer the title of Dad's house to himself. The only reason it hadn't gone through was because I was listed as co-owner on the deed. Diana had accessed Dr. Patterson's medical records system using credentials she'd kept from her previous job. She'd added false documentation to make it look like Dad was deteriorating mentally and behaviorally, building a paper trail to support an eventual competency hearing where Marcus could be appointed as Dad's guardian. The plan had been comprehensive: take over guardianship, transfer all assets, put Dad in the cheapest nursing home possible, and drain everything. And they'd almost succeeded. Detective Morrison arrested Diana on multiple felony counts. Both she and Marcus were looking at serious prison time. But I wanted something more than just legal justice. I wanted everyone to know what they'd done. Dad was released from the hospital after 2 weeks. His kidney function had improved, but not completely. He'd need ongoing monitoring. I moved him into a new assisted living facility, one with excellent Alzheimer's care and tight security. No unauthorized visitors allowed. 2 months after the arrests, Marcus's lawyer called me. They wanted to make a deal. If I agreed not to testify, if I convinced Dad not to cooperate with prosecutors, Marcus would plead to reduce charges, maybe avoid prison entirely. Probation, restitution over time. I said no. Mr. Chen, you need to think about your family. Your sister. My sister chose her side. I'm choosing mine. I'm protecting my father. No deal. The lawyer tried another angle. What if we offered full restitution up front? We can liquidate assets, pay back every penny Marcus took. Where would that money come from? Silence. Let me guess. My sister would mortgage her house, drain her retirement, to pay back money her son stole? No. Marcus made these choices. Marcus needs to face the consequences. And the consequences include criminal conviction and prison time. I hung up. But that lawyer's call gave me an idea. Marcus's trial was scheduled for November, 3 months away. In the meantime, he was out on bond, living with my sister, working at his real estate agency like nothing had happened, posting on social media about property listings and market trends. It made me sick. So I planned something. Tom's law firm was hosting a big charity gala in mid-October. 200 people. Judges, lawyers, business leaders, city council members. Tom had helped me so much with Dad's case. I'd bought a table and invited several people. Dr. Patterson, Detective Morrison, Dad's care team from the assisted living facility. I also sent an anonymous tip to the event coordinator, suggesting they invite Marcus Chen, rising young real estate agent with great community connections. Marcus loved networking events, loved the appearance of success. His ego wouldn't let him refuse. Sure enough, he RSVP'd yes, bringing Diana as his +1. The gala was at the Tampa Marriott downtown, black tie event. I wore my best suit, the one I'd bought for my retirement dinner. Dad was there too. I'd gotten special permission to bring him out for the evening. He was having a good day, relatively alert, happy to be dressed up and out of the facility. Marcus arrived at 7 p.m. I watched him work the room, shaking hands, networking, playing the part of successful young professional. Diana was on his arm, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. Jewelry sparkling. Jewelry purchased with my father's money. I waited until dinner was served, waited until the program started. Tom's senior partner was giving a speech about the importance of protecting vulnerable populations. Perfect. I'd prepared a video, a simple PowerPoint presentation, really. Photos of Dad's locked bedroom, the deadbolt, the condition of the room, hospital photos of Dad's bed sores, his IV, his medical chart showing severe dehydration, copies of the bank statements showing the withdrawals, screenshots of the fake companies Marcus had created, the falsified medical records, everything. When the senior partner finished his speech, there was polite applause. Then the lights dimmed for what was supposed to be a video about the firm's pro bono work. Instead, my video played on the 10-foot screen at the front of the ballroom. I stood up. The spotlight found me. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the interruption. My name is Robert Chen. That man in the hospital bed on the screen is my father, Harold Chen, 86 years old, Korean War veteran. The images you're seeing are from 2 months ago, after my nephew locked him in his bedroom without water for 3 days while throwing parties in our home and stealing $140,000 from his bank accounts. The room was dead silent. My nephew is here tonight. Marcus Chen. He's seated at table 7. All heads turned. Marcus was frozen in his seat, face white. Diana was trying to sink under the table. Marcus presented himself as a caretaker, someone I could trust. Instead, he exploited my father's Alzheimer's, falsified medical records with his fiancée's help, created fake businesses to embezzle money, and very nearly killed an elderly veteran through deliberate neglect. The next slide showed Marcus's smiling social media posts from the days Dad was locked in that room. Posts about closing real estate deals, posts from parties, posts bragging about his lifestyle. While my father lay dying of dehydration, Marcus was celebrating. He told my father I was dead, that I wasn't coming back. He thought he'd gotten away with it. Detective Morrison stood up from our table. She'd come in full uniform at my request. Marcus Chen and Diana Reeves are facing multiple felony charges: elder abuse, grand theft, fraud, identity theft, falsifying medical records. They're currently out on bond. Their trial is scheduled for November 15th. I clicked to the final slide. It was a photo of Dad from last year, healthy, smiling, sitting in his favorite chair. This is what my father looked like before Marcus's care. I'm sharing this tonight because elder abuse is often hidden. It happens in homes, behind closed doors. Family members are the most common perpetrators. People don't want to believe that someone they know, someone they trust, could do something like this. I looked directly at Marcus. He was trying to leave, but Detective Morrison had positioned herself near table 7. 2 uniformed officers had quietly entered the ballroom. I share this also because I want everyone in this room to know what Marcus Chen is, what he's capable of, because he'll present himself as trustworthy, as professional, as someone you can rely on. That's how predators work. They build trust, then they exploit it. I clicked off the presentation. The lights came back up. Tom's senior partner stepped back to the microphone. Mr. Chen, thank you for sharing your father's story. What you've experienced is precisely why our firm's elder law division exists. No one should go through this alone. There was applause, strong applause. Half the room stood up. Marcus and Diana left through a side exit. I watched them go, saw the humiliation on their faces, The shock, the anger. Good. Detective Morrison came over to me afterwards. That was bold. Was it legal? Everything you showed was already part of the public record. Court documents, police reports. You have every right to talk about what happened to your father. First Amendment. She smiled slightly. But I imagine Marcus's lawyer is going to be very unhappy Monday morning. He was. Marcus's lawyer filed a motion claiming I'd tainted the jury pool, made a fair trial impossible. The judge denied it. Everything I'd presented was factual, public record, protected speech. The gala video went viral locally. Someone recorded it on their phone and posted it to social media. Within a week, it had been shared across Tampa, then Florida, then nationally. News outlets picked it up. Elder abuse advocates used it as an example. The real estate agency where Marcus worked quietly let him go. My sister called me one more time. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed Marcus's life. He destroyed himself. I just made sure people knew about it. He's my son, and Harold is your father. But I notice you haven't visited him once since this started. Silence. You made your choice, Linda. You chose to protect the abuser instead of the victim. That tells me everything I need to know about your priorities. You self-righteous. I hung up on her this time. The trial happened in November. It lasted 4 days. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty. All counts. Marcus got 15 years. Diana got 8. In the victim impact statement, I read a letter Dad had written during one of his lucid periods. He dictated it to me, and I'd written it down word for word. My grandson told me my son was dead. He took everything I had, but worse than the money, worse than being locked in that room, was the betrayal. I trusted him. I loved him, and he saw that trust as something to exploit. I hope he finds redemption someday. But I also hope he faces the consequences of what he's done, because if he doesn't, he'll do it to someone else. The judge added an additional 5 years to Marcus's sentence for the false imprisonment and endangerment. After the sentencing, I went to see Dad at the assisted living facility. He was having a good day. We sat in the garden, watching the sunset. "Did they take care of it, son?" he asked. He didn't remember the details anymore, but he remembered that something bad had happened. "Yeah, Dad, they took care of it." "Good. You're a good boy, Robert. Your mother would be proud." I sold Dad's house. Couldn't stand to be there anymore. Every room reminded me of what Marcus had done. I bought a smaller condo near the assisted living facility so I could visit Dad every day. I used some of the money from the house sale to set up a trust for Dad's care. Ironclad, with me as sole trustee. No one could touch it. No one could exploit him again. I also started volunteering with an elder abuse prevention organization, giving talks about warning signs, teaching people how to protect their loved ones, sharing Dad's story so maybe, just maybe, someone else could avoid what we went through. A year later, I got a letter from Marcus in prison. It was short. "Uncle Rob, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything now. I wish I could take it back. I was in debt, desperate, made terrible choices. I know there's no excuse. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry." I didn't respond. Some things can't be fixed with apologies. Dad passed away 2 years after the trial, peacefully, in his sleep, in a facility where he was safe and cared for. I was with him at the end. At his funeral, Linda showed up. We didn't speak. She sat in the back, cried quietly, and left before the reception. Marcus sent a letter from prison asking to be allowed to attend the funeral. I denied the request. Some people told me I was too harsh, that I should forgive, that Marcus had suffered enough, but they weren't the ones who found their father locked in a room, lying in his own waste, dying of thirst while the person who was supposed to protect him partied and stole everything he had. They weren't the ones who had to decide between family loyalty and doing what was right. I made my choice. I chose my father, and I'd make the same choice again, every single time. Because that's what love is. Not blind loyalty, not protecting people from the consequences of their actions, but standing up for those who can't stand up for themselves, even when it's hard, even when it costs you. Especially then. Dad's favorite saying was, A man's character is defined by what he does when no one is watching. Marcus showed his character when he thought no one would ever know what he'd done. I showed mine when I made sure everyone did.